I'm Jay Taylor, editor of a newsletter called Jay Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks. And I'm here at the Metals Investor Forum in Vancouver, British Columbia. It is March 10th, 2022, and I'm really pleased to have Dr. Bill Pearson with me. He's the Executive Vice President of Exploration for Eloro Resources, and that's a company that is really doing extremely well at a polymetallic discovery, silver tin rich with a lot of other base metals as well, and God knows what else. I think there's a lot of other things there too that might have some value in the future. But thank you, Bill, for joining me today.
Oh, pleasure.
You know, it's just remarkable. It's a very unique deposit, it seems to me. I mean, we don't see that many silver tin deposits around the world, but Bolivia is sort of known for these kind of deposits. Maybe just talk a little bit about what you've discovered so far. As I understand it, you're on a caldera, a major caldera, and a lot of these breccia pipes that are mineralized, that have these minerals in it. And maybe as you go there's several of these pipes that are mineralized, and some of them might have more of one mineral, like more tin to the south, as I understand it. But anyway, talk about it, because you've had these remarkable intersections of like 300 and some meters of, I don't know, 300 or so silver equivalent, grams of silver equivalent. So just crazy bulk mineable, world-class mine, it seems to me, that's coming into the picture. But give us your
Well,
take
you're
on it.
absolutely right. It's an unbelievable system. I've worked in mining exploration around the world for 47 years now. I've never seen anything like this. You know, we drilled over 80 holes. Every single hole we've reported has multiple reportable intersections, including some of those extraordinary ones like that 373 meter one, which was 171 grams equivalent with 0.22 tin, which is extraordinarily high. The thing is, southern Bolivia is a very interesting area geologically. There's a lot of polymetallic deposits down there. Most people around the world don't know much about them because they've generally been run by Comabol or cooperativists. But you see recently a number of companies starting to move into Bolivia. I mean, the most recent Andean Precious Metals, Bob Buchan's group, I was talking to them last week. They're doing extremely well down there, very bullish on Bolivia. Of course, the one deposit everybody knows is Cerro Rico deposit.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable deposit. And Isca has parallels in terms of metal content, in terms of timing. I think eventually we've got potential to get up into, you know, a really huge sized deposit. But if you imagine yourself, you're down in southern Bolivia in the Mayas 15 million years ago, and you're standing and you're looking at this massive stratovolcano that is full of all these huge explosive breccia pipes. And of course, as you know, breccia pipes are a wonderful place for mineralization. Yeah. So what you have here is this whole complex is driven by a huge tin porphyry at depth. And we're starting to get indications that I think we will end up finding out where that is.
Right.
And that was the first stage. So tin forms deep, very high temperature. To throw in a little geology, the crust in southern Bolivia is 80 kilometers thick.
Oh, so
that is why you're getting tin. That's why you don't see it elsewhere in the Andes. You know, the tin belt goes from Bolivia. The end of it is San Rafael mine in southern Peru, which produces about 10% of the world's tin. So you've got this huge caldera complex, you know, classic resurgent collapse caldera complex, and you've had all these breccia pipes form, and you've had this intensive stage of epithermal mineralization. Of course, breccias are beautiful holes.
Sure.
But all the rocks around it, which are mainly dacitic domes, they're all fractured and mineralized too. And it shows you the intensity of this thing. Like the Santa Barbara breccia 800 by 500 wide by probably, we don't know the true
The
depth.
Yeah,
It's 700 plus.
yeah,
Imagine the power
yeah,
required to create that.
sure.
So you've had all these fluids coming through, and they've extensively mineralized these breccia pipes, the surrounding envelopes. And then you've got a third stage, because as you know, the Andes, it's a very, very intense tectonic zone.
Sure.
So you've actually moved these stuff around. So
And then,
you've reconcentrated, you mobilized, and that's actually pushed mineralization, not only upgrading it in the breccia pipes and mineralized envelope, but pushed it up into the surrounding sediments and the rocks below. The unique thing about Iska is people, well, I mean, the Spaniards had thousands of people, slaves. Why wasn't it found? Well, the reason is if you go out on the surface and you sample, you get nothing, because there's a very intense oxidation layer where everything's stripped out. And we were fortunate in starting our first drilling from underground, so we were a little
Yeah.
deeper down.
Yeah.
But you know, my good friend and colleague, Dr. Osvaldo Arce, who's an absolute expert on Bolivian geology, you know, he always said to me, you know, in southern Bolivia, every high mountain has a tin mine, except Iska. What's wrong with Iska? Well, we now know, and the combination of the silicification associated with the epithermal mineralization and the quartz sandstone basement, all of which is erosional, we have this remarkably preserved volcanic edifice. And this system is about 4 kilometers long, 2 across. It goes down at least 1 kilometer. And it's
It's
massive.
just incredible, and the grades that you're getting. Now, you're going to be coming out, I think, with a resource, but the problem is that you keep finding more, and maybe you're holding off on when you'll have a maiden resource. Has that been determined yet, or do you have a date?
Well, we're certainly, I'm definitely want to try and meet the Q2, you know, latter part of Q2 we're aiming at. But the interesting development, Jay, is we're essentially looking at 2 major domains. We have the silver, zinc, lead, tin
Yeah, you're right.
polymetallic
More
in
to the
Santa
north.
Barbara
Yeah.
in the north. And Santa Barbara, you can think of it as the frothy top of the complex. And then we're getting with that 373 meter with all this tin. And of course, we're focusing on the southern areas being the potential where the tin port. So I think this is going to evolve into a mineral resource for domain 1, and we are going to have to do way more drilling to figure out domain 2, which will be tin dominant.
So
So you can think of it as like there's potential for 2 major mines in this project, and you'll have a plant with a polymetallic circuit and a tin circuit, and you'll have an open pit and an underground
right.
potential.
So I think one of the last press releases that went out showed a 3D anomaly to the south, I think by the Porco. Maybe it
Yes.
actually taps into the Porco, and is this where you suspect that tin deeper, the tin porphyry type of?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
interestingly, our first indication was that we did some radial drill holes on Porco,
Yeah,
which had a few hits, but the one hole that had the best hit clipped the edge of the model,
yeah.
and it had a bunch of tin. And the other one that now makes sense, hole 6 we drilled in our Santa Barbara radial drilling, which was minus 80 to the south. We had a deep intersection in there that had 0.43 tin over 73 meters.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
it looked like, where did this come from? Well, we now know that's the northern edge of what we hit in DSBU 07,
Wow.
373.
Wow.
So yes, I'm keeping my fingers touched. There's a massive tin porphyry down there.
Mhm.
The magnetic model has proved very good because the tin mineralization is associated with pyrrhotite, which is magnetic.
Okay,
When you're up in the higher level, when you get tin up there, it's associated with pyrite, which is non-magnetic. That's why you don't see
the
a
deep,
big anomaly on Santa Barbara. So, yeah, it's been very exciting times, and
you expect you'll poke some holes down into that and try to find that that tin?
Absolutely,
Is your-
doing that as we speak.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got we're certainly, the sooner I can validate that model, and so far it's been pretty good. You know, as we get deeper, of course, the model gets a little less
Yeah.
defined. But absolutely, we're working on that. So, so you very well could see, I certainly want to get that mineral resource out. But that'll be domain 1 of the polymetallic, and domain 2, the tin
Yeah.
needs some more time. But
Right.
the scale tells me, and we do know, by the way, 2.5 kilometers south, there are tin showings down there, which is very likely the same.
2.5 kilometers.
Yeah. So
Well-
this is an absolutely massive system.
I mean, you've had a lengthy career. This is one of the most exciting. Well, let me just give you this is Quentin Henning, if I can. I think I've got him right. He said this could be one of the most significant tin discoveries made in a generation. Is Quentin getting a little bit frothy? A little bit?
No, absolutely not. I mean, Quentin's been a terrific help right from the start.
Yeah.
He was key to getting our initial financing with
Yeah.
Crescat. He's bang on.
Yeah.
Osvaldo says this will be the biggest tin discovery in 100 years in Bolivia.
Wow, that's amazing. And
yeah.
Osvaldo is just, he knows these deposits as well as anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Well,
he is a director, I believe. He's on the company's.
well, he's
yeah.
our general manager of Minera
Right,
Pisa,
right.
and he's got a small interest in the overall project,
Uh-huh.
very well deserved, because
Absolutely. Yeah.
clearly he was key to the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we did the original due diligence in 2019, he sent me the first pictures back from, we were sampling the Wauwakeza Underground. And my first reaction was, wow, this thing's hammered. And we realized it was a big system, but we had no idea the scale.
How big it was, yeah.
Yeah, and the turning point, and it's sort of an interesting story. When we hit that 180 meters in the Santa Barbara breccia, I phoned up Osvaldo and I said, Osvaldo, you got to send the guys out there. Let's figure out what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
And he sent all his geologists out early in the morning. They thought they'd go out for an hour or two. They spent all day out there. They came back just as the sun went down. And they just said, mucha breccia, mucha breccia, mucha breccia.
Yeah, everywhere,
That's
yeah.
how the whole thing started.
Well, we'll have to leave it go at that because we're out of time, Bill. We could go on and on. You could go on and on forever.
Absolutely.
And this is going to be it's already, obviously the market's starting to pay attention to it, but it's one of those deposits where don't exit too soon, I think, maybe the message.
Absolutely. I certainly would tell people, absolutely stay tuned. I think the picture is starting to consolidate. It is huge. And we also emphasize we're very comfortable in Bolivia. And if you talk to other people like, Andean, for example, Pan American's operating there, Sumitomo has been there.
Mhm.
And the other thing with Isca, the logistics are fantastic. We have road access. We have a 3-phase power 10 kilometers south. There's a rail network we could tap into.
Good, excellent.
And the Bolivian government would love to have tin concentrate in their smelters. So
Absolutely.
we've got a top legal team down there. And plus, if you go into our team there, it's 100% Bolivian, run by a Bolivian.
Wonderful. So you're building wealth. You're going to help that nation, that country, and shareholders.
Absolutely,
as well.
I had my best previous success was Desert Sun. It's exactly what we did. If you
Yeah.
went to Jacobina, 100% Brazilian.
Right.
And that,
Wonderful.
in fact, was 20 years ago in August that I started that project. So
Wonderful.
I'm
Bill,
on
it's a
roll.
great, fantastic story, Bill. Thank you so much for taking the time to tell us about it. We'll
Pleasure.
certainly be watching it very, very closely. And you have lots to watch because the news just keeps on coming. So it's great.
Absolutely, and the labs are back in gear now, so
Yeah,
I'm
good.
getting lots more results. And
Excellent.
I'm using 2 labs, so
Wonderful. All right. All the best. Have a great year. I know
thank
you will.
you.